and how we use it and our policy that we have in place on it. Then I had a guy fly in from Flock back on December the 30th. He attended a commission meeting, and if you go back on YouTube, that meeting, about 30 minutes into the meeting, he gives a presentation that lasts about half an hour, and then he spent an hour doing Q&A with the public and with the commission. There were a lot of questions that he answered then. I recommend if you've got any questions about what it is and what it does and that sort of thing, go back and watch that. I can answer some questions about what we have and how we use it, but a lot of the technical stuff I don't know because I'm just not a techie computer guy. But I'll answer what I can.
I'll start.
Okay.
I hear a lot of law enforcement saying what Flock isn't, but very few say what it is. What is Flock to you?
So Flock, to me, we have cameras. There are 5 of them in the city. They photograph the back of vehicles and show the license plate. And they compare that license plate to a hot list. If that license plate is on a hot list, for example, if the registered owner has a warrant for their arrest, or a suspended driver's license, or it's a missing person, it sends an alert out, and it sends an alert out to the laptops of the officers that are out there on the road. So it'll send the alert out and it'll say why the alert was generated and a photograph the back of that car. And by policy, that officer, before he takes any law enforcement action, has to verify that. So he's gonna have to run that person to see if there really is an active warrant, suspended license, or if they're missing person. And that eliminates errors, because if you go by only what Flock shows, they go off of a FDLE hot list. And it is not the same as, it's not live, in other words. So it's possible that somebody could have a warrant, they've already been arrested on that warrant, and let's say it happened 4 hours ago, Flock hasn't caught up to that, but FCIC and NCIC, so that's why we have that verification process in there. We can also do searches, so the data retained on those is retained for 30 days, and what we use the majority of our use is actually hit and runs. So we have a hit and run, our officers can search Flock for either the tag, if the victim has a tag number, or if it was like a white Chevy truck, they can do that, search within a time frame and find that vehicle. And we saw a lot of hit and runs for that. I know that's not a major crime, but I mean, to the person it happens to, it's kind of major sometimes. We've used it for other things, for missing persons and wanted people and stuff like that. But you can do searches on it for that, and our policy is the officers have to put in a case number. They can't just search it out of curiosity, because that would be misuse.
What about the AI database? Sharing of the AI database nationwide?
So the beauty of the Flock system is the database, and it's basically like a file sharing thing, because the majority of the crimes that we solve aren't actually with Lynn Haven's cameras specifically, because our cameras face in towards the city. So for example, we got one at the base of the Bailey Bridge in front of Po Folks. It's facing in, so it's catching vehicles that come into the city. The reason we did that is because we didn't have enough money to get any more than the 5 cameras we have. So we've got 2 on 390, 2 on 389, and 1 on, 4 on 390 and 1 on 389. And they face in towards the city, so if somebody comes through there and it's a wanted person, it sends the alert that somebody's entered our city that's wanted or missing or whatever. We don't have any that face traffic going out of the city because we just simply didn't have the money to do that. But there are additional cameras in Panama City, in the county, and all sorts of places. So if we do have a hit and run and somebody takes off, usually it's going to be caught when they're leaving the city.
And not only that, I think there's about 160 to 170 Flock cameras in Bay County. So out of all those cameras, we have 5.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many there are, but I know
I think
there's
it's
a
about
lot.
160, 170.
That's probably pretty close to accurate.
And you think this is okay? You think that sharing my data with somebody in Michigan or Virginia or California is okay?
I've never shared your data with anyone.
You share it once you've told me this on an email. Once my data is entered into the Flock database, you lose all control of it. So you don't know who's looking at my data and who isn't.
It's a photograph of your license plate, your data's not in there.
It's not there for
Yeah, but
30
you could
days?
look it up for my.
30 days of my travels passing a flock camera isn't in the database?
If that's what you wanna consider data, then yes, it is, but
Well, what else
photographs of your
what would
license
you
plate is.
consider it?
I'm not gonna argue with you.
I know,
I'll
I'm just
answer
asking
questions about how
questions.
this is used, but I'm not going back and forth with you. That's not.
I'm
what
not
this-
going back and forth with you.
That's not what this is for.
I'm just asking you if you think it's okay to share my data because you're the one that told me that you don't have control over the data.
So I'll
I'm
say
not gonna
this.
give personal opinions, I'm not gonna argue about it, I can tell
Well,
you
what
what
do
it
you
is and
think
how
of
we
it
use
as a professional?
I'm not gonna tell you what I think about it, I'm not giving an opinion.
Oh, as a professional, you should be able to give us an opinion on the people you're here to protect and their data being everywhere that is shared with 1,700 other government agencies and the federal government. Why can't you answer that?
So I'll say this, I know that there's several court cases, there've been several court cases out there about ALPR, not just necessarily flock, a lot of them have been flock, but ALPRs. I don't know of one court case where they say ALPRs are illegal. And not only that, Florida has a statute.
It was proved in Louisiana, because I'm friends with.
Which court case is that?
I'm not, I'll
Is that the
find out.
Carpenter one?
No.
Okay, I'm not, if you can send that to me, because I'm not aware of
Okay,
any
I'll
court
find
case
out.
where they say ALPRs are illegal. I'm not, now, there are some cases out there, like I saw one case where they put an ALPR camera out there, and it was like on a corner, and since it was on a corner and they had it situated off the road, it was facing into somebody's private residency. And the courts determined that wasn't legal, and that's, I can understand why for that case. But, cause I know there's been a lot of talk about, you know, it's unconstitutional. And so here's the way I look at it is, Florida, there's a Florida statute that talks about ALPRs. There has to be a bill that has to go through to approve that. That means it probably went to some committees, it had to go to the House, it had to go to the Senate. And that means attorneys have looked at this to make sure it's legal and constitutional. And I don't know the answer to this, but I'm willing to bet the vast majority of states, if not all the states, probably have statutes also that talk about it. And if all those states have looked at it and say, hey, it's legal, you know, I'm only gonna go by what the state and federal government says. And if the state and federal government says it's legal, we're gonna do what's legal. And if they come down, and if someday that the, let's say the Florida Supreme Court or the US Supreme Court comes down and says they're illegal, then we will follow that guidance and we will remove them.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. I really do. I don't appreciate you being defensive like that. You should be able to answer my questions. This is all very new.
It is.
Nobody here, the flock has been in Lynn Haven for almost 6 years. And only now are people finding out because of the way that it was implemented secretly.
No, it wasn't secret.
Oh, it was.
No, it was June 6, 2021. We had a meeting, it was approved in the CRA. I remember, that was back when we had Chief Ramey. He
Yep.
got up there, talked about it. I think this was my second meeting, and I'm not
Yeah.
trying to make excuses, but this is my second meeting since I've been in office, right?
How did he explain flock in that meeting?
I sent you the video.
I know.
Yeah.
It's an ALPR. Nothing about AI, nothing about it being tracked, traced, stored, and shared. It was no explanation.
Understood. But you made it sound like it was done secretly. It
It
wasn't
was.
done. No,
It wasn't explained.
Well, okay. And I didn't ask any questions. Nobody else asked any questions.
Exactly.
So to say it was done in secret, no. Should we ask more questions? Yeah,
There were
possibly.
also, I have a question for Deputy Chief Pinfinger, if you'd be polite enough to answer. You say that the flock cameras do not track people, yet in the sheriff's post on that child molester that was caught, he says that that guy was tracked in real time. So I want to see why you say people aren't tracked by flock when he says they are
Because
in real
Flock doesn't
time.
track people, users track them. That was a person that used Flock data to follow that vehicle.
So now I do know that Flock has additional equipment that you can get for, other type of AI stuff. We don't have any of that stuff.
Hold on, I wanna understand that. What do you mean?
I mean, a physical person went in there and did that research. That's a person tracked that vehicle. Flock doesn't automatically track.
So, okay, so you say that Flock doesn't track,
Correct.
but Sheriff Ford says it does track real time.
I can't speak on behalf of Sheriff Ford, but I can tell you there's nothing that will automatically track a vehicle for us. If there were, we'd be using it, but it's not there. That doesn't exist.
So you don't believe that every time that I pass a camera and it takes a picture of me, that's tracking me?
If you're on the hot list, a alert will come up.
It takes a photograph, stores that photograph into a searchable database, but a person has to search it. It doesn't automatically search.
So are you willing to say that a police officer can track me using
Yes.
the Flock system?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It just sounds disingenuous when you go on the news and say, oh, Flock doesn't track you, when you can do a simple Google search, or you can just read on Flock's website what it does, and they say that it tracks people. So it doesn't sound, honest to me.
Does it track people or does it track license plates? Because that's the way I understand. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
It tracks people driving their vehicles, if you want me to get specific.
I was just gonna kind of maybe add some thoughts here on the tracking piece. So, like, I spent a lot of years doing a lot of training, learning how to avoid being tracked in the military. And part of that is varying your routes to and from the location that you're going to, varying your habits, because once we have habits, whether it's the route that we travel, the vehicle that we're traveling in, the clothes that we're wearing, whatever our facial clothes that we're wearing, there's all kind of things, right? So any body that has any habit can be tracked, whether it's being used by ALPRs or whatever. If Lynn Haven Police Department knows that I travel down 390 every day at 4 p.m. and I don't want them to track me, guess where I'm probably gonna not drive every day at 4 p.m. Right?
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to deviate your route.
I'm just
Because
talking
the government's tracking
I'm
you.
just talking to the point of being tracked. So my goal here is that if someone is afraid of being tracked, there are ways and mechanisms that you yourself can put into place to prevent that. Now, regarding the ALPR, the flock, and everything else, because I requested my own data back when you guys think, hey, I put this out. I want you guys to request your own data. So I requested my own flock data. They sent me this huge file. I went in there and looked at it.
Who did you request that from?
The
Just
public records request,
For the
and then I paid for it. They contact the police department. The police department compiles all the data from the range that I requested it from, and then they go through it and make sure that there's nothing secret or whatever that I don't need to see. And then they provided me with my entire flock data from, I think I requested the last 30 or 60 days. And when I got that data, because I didn't know, I'm like, I was kind of like you, was like, okay, I hear what you guys are saying about this whole flock thing, but like, I want to see what my stuff looks like, right? And lo and behold, I open this thing up, and man, sure enough, there's my old beat up Toyota Corolla driving down, certain roads at certain times, right? And then I see this one, it was like a silver Lexus or something. And I was like, that's not my car. What is this, right? So I looked at it, and sure enough, it wasn't my car or whatever. So I was like, well, this system's not as smart as I've been led to believe it was.
So the city of Lynn Haven sent you someone else's flock data?
No, it was tied to me. It had my name, my license plate number, but the picture that was taken was actually of a silver, I don't know.
Sometimes it gets the color wrong, sometimes it even get the make wrong.
That's a big problem.
Yeah.
So
So-
let's support that. Let's support a technology that's wrong.
But my point with that is that I was led to believe that this system is so smart that this is and I was like, man, there's a lot of information out that people are saying that this system has the capability to do, and it does have the capability to do it, but we don't have that here in Lynn Haven. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm all for I think what should happen is there should be some guardrails and guidelines as far as how this system's being used. I don't think we should just be willy-nilly doing whatever, they've been given full reign to do whatever with zero checks and balances. I don't
Which
agree
they
with
had
that
for 6
at
years.
all. That has been,
Yeah.
I don't want to say that was the case, but I can tell you that since you started talking about it, and others, that I have seen from my own eyes, new policies being put in place within the police department to address the citizens' concerns. So for that, I appreciate you all and you all for at least listening to the public to say, hey, these people have some valid concerns. We're going to put some guidelines and guardrails in place. Is it going to meet your expectations? Absolutely not. I don't think there's a world that we can live in to where we just throw the entire flock system out the window. I don't think it's realistic.
No, it's going to get worse.
Yeah,
There'll be more than flock cameras.
There already is.
absolutely.
Well, I know.
Yeah, but
It's
not,
going to
you have
get
a-
worse.
not
Do
owned
you
by
have
the
a cell
government.
phone?
Yes, I do.
They're tracking you. I
Unfortunately.
almost guarantee you, when you go home, do you get on Facebook? On your,
I know that.
Why do you
I
use
know
go
that,
in, you're
Jamie.
probably
I
going
know
to
I'm
get-
being tracked. I know that.
We chose that, Jamie.
That's right.
We didn't choose this, and we can't do
No,
that.
did we really choose that?
With
When I bought my
with
first
my
cell
phone,
phone, did I know
I
it was
opted
gonna track
into
me?
all the apps
No.
tracking me, and I can stop that at any time. And Verizon's not gonna come on a misread and arrest me mistakenly. So it's not a good comparison, just because you let your phone track you, that it's apples and oranges. This is the government doing it. That's you. You're our government. You're supposed to set up our freedom with liberty guiding us as the
Okay.
law. So that's not a good comparison. I
Okay,
wish
so
people
let me
would stop
say
using it.
this. Let me say this. So
Yep, okay,
I know you think
bet.
that I'm not paying attention
Right,
to this
bye-bye.
stuff.
okay.
But
bye-bye.
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I don't
I'm
think
sorry.
that, Jamie. I know.
But how many commissioners have come and talked to you about Flock?
One,
Who's that?
you.
I'm the only one, okay? I'm the one that pushed the transparency portal. You know
I
how many?
emailed that in January to this gentleman.
I know,
and
and I
was
pushed
ignored.
it too, okay?
So I did that. You didn't do it.
Okay.
You would have no idea what it was.
I'm trying to have a conversation, you wanna continue to argue, then go ahead and continue.
You're trying to
argue.
take credit for
I'm
something.
I'm not. I pushed for that.
Good.
And I appreciate you
it.
bringing it up, because
Yes.
when this initially came up, it came up when the gentleman that came in December, okay? We are the only city in all Bay County that uses the transparency portal. The
Yep.
only one.
And I love that. I appreciate that.
And I pushed for us to have stronger policies. And we have bi-weekly audits, we have greater transparency. It talks about restricted access, prohibited uses, and has clear guidelines as far as misuse of the system. And I'm for anybody that abuses the system to be held accountable. And you've been seeing that across the United States. And you know one of the reasons why that's happened, and I'm not here I don't make anything on Flock, I'm not here to promote it, but Flock came out in April with an AI tool that helps with the audits. And what that does is it actually tracks police officers, and it knows if you're looking for stuff during your off-duty hours. It knows if you're continually searching for us, just one particular license plate. They have put those things in place. And is there probably tools that need to continue to improve? Yes. But my fear is, if we do away with Flock and everybody else keeps them, what do you think is gonna happen in Lynn Haven? Criminals know that, and they know that will be a gateway for them to come over here, and I don't want that to happen. And I understand your concerns about privacy, I do, and I've looked at that. But to me, until the US Supreme Court or Florida Supreme Court, or even, I know James Fishback, who's running for governor, if he stays on the ballot, he's been pushing back on saying, I'm gonna get rid of Flock. Until they come down and say, we can't use them, then I think it's a very valuable tool that helps protect the safety and security of our city so that they can do their job.
And those are recent developments, and I do appreciate the work that you do. I don't think that you don't do anything. I know that you're the only one that researches, I believe. So you've done a lot of good. When it comes to,
Well, can I just stop
Yeah.
one? And I wanna make it sound like I'm not gonna come back to you, but I wanna make sure everyone else has an opportunity to speak or ask questions, so that when they leave here, they got all the information they need. Carlos?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a couple things. Yeah, it was very interesting that you brought up about the data that you got back, because I know you asked what my position was, and it's a very complex issue. I without these guardrails or any guardrails, I don't support any deployment of flock cameras. But I extend that to any technology that's being used, whether that's red light cameras or speed cameras in school zones. But I want to be part of the solution where we can have some actual statutory guardrails, to where we can use the system, use the technology, but we're not just collecting the data and then just storing it. Like one example you brought up is part of the problem with Flock is it's not perfect, it's not great. Because there have been reports of people getting pulled over by mistake, right? So if that license plate was flagged.
Can I address that?
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, I know you talked about it earlier, but I think that's part, I don't wanna say this happens all the time, because I don't believe it happens all the time. But I think that's error on the police, or maybe it's by state. But when the Lynn Haven Police Department gets an alert, and they're like, okay, this is a stolen vehicle, or this is suspected murder.
Yeah, you're supposed to have a human in the loop.
They have to verify through the NCIC
and FCIC.
CIC systems. And is that throughout all the states, or is that just a Florida thing?
So, I mean, that's in our policy, and Flock recommends it. Whenever we first instituted Flock in 2021, a Flock rep came down and he helped us build our initial policy. Now we've got a new policy, it's been in effect for a few months, that's added in there some audits.
Yep.
So we have bi-weekly audits now, and an annual report to the chief, which is the results of all the Flock usage and the audits throughout the year, so that's been added in there. But
that's
human verification is in there because that's a humongous liability, because if you arrest somebody and you wrongly arrest them, then that officer's gonna lose his job and the department's gonna get sued. So there's zero tolerance for that.
I mean, especially if they got flagged that they're armed and dangerous, and now they're pulling over someone they believe is armed and dangerous without having that human loop. No, and I support all that. And the point I'm trying to make too is and you answered it perfectly. A lot of this is policy, and recommendations from the company that sells these products. And if we're being honest, it's a data collection company,
right.
And they sell this technology to us. I'm very supportive of, instead of this policy, like, why don't we make it ordinance, right? Because policy, I mean, Lynn Haven just a little while ago got rid of a police chief that technically could just say, we're not gonna do this.
Well, I'll take it a step further. There's three things I'm gonna try to advocate for. Whether it be successful, that's up to we'll see. But, and I already got a meeting set up next week with someone to discuss this. I want the state to come down with three different things. One, I want them to come with strict definitions and harsher penalties for anybody that uses the system.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna advocate for that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we have accreditation that happens every 3 years, right?
I think it's every 4.
Is it 4 years? Every 4 years.
But I'll have to look.
And
You're
they
talking
do-
about your law enforcement
Right.
accreditation? Yeah.
So they come down and check for certain things. ALPR is one of them, they check your policy and that, but I wanna add certain things to that also.
To the policy?
No, to, when FPLE comes in,
Oh, okay,
it does
yeah.
your accreditation
Yeah.
of your police departments. And the third thing I wanna do is, I want the state, and I don't know if FPLE would be the best one in this position, or if it's another agency under the state, where they do random audits on municipalities and counties and anybody else who uses ALPR.
Yeah.
And I think that'll help, create the guardrails that we're talking. More guardrails, to me, more guardrails is better.
Yeah, I mean,
But you're right, if you have a police department that's, not abiding by the
policy
policy.
is like, it's pencil, right? You can, I mean, and technically an ordinance too, right? If you get a majority, you can get rid of the ordinance, but at least It's gotta be done in the public, it has to be done by the elected officials. And my concern is from one municipality to another, your policies can vary depending on the personalities that are there. Instead of having the elected officials, which are the ones that are supposed to be guarding our liberties and freedoms. And once again, I support having this tech. I wanna be in a world where this technology is catching lots of bad guys. I want it, and especially over at the beach.
Yeah.
Our population like quadruples every weekend, and that's a regular occurrence. So a lot of people come in, they do what they need to do, and then they're out, right? So being able to catch bad guys quickly, ALPR is a great tool towards that, but it can be abused. And that's why, like, I wanna see something, either it's from the state or a municipality, like something saying like, you will observe these times. The 30-day deletion, it's a policy.
Well, that's already that is already at state level.
That's at state. Well, the other thing that's at state is just where and how you can use it, but doesn't really put a lot of guardrails or punitive actions against anyone that abuses the system.
Right.
So, and a lot of these things that is already existing in policy, I think are wonderful. I just want it like more concrete. And that transparency portal, I would love to see that everywhere. I would love to see it in Bay County, and I'll do my little campaign spiel, but if elected, I'm gonna make sure that that goes on the beach as well. And that we have actual hard ordinances, because I think the elected officials should weigh in on it, like you have, and put some skin in the game. It's like, no, this is how our city will manage it through the feedback of our residents.
One thing I want to address, I'll get to you, Corey. I know you talk about on the transparency portal, you bring up the searches and they got blanks in that one column. And would you mind addressing that? I know there are times that the system goes down while they're in the middle of it and it can do that, but there's another reason for that, isn't there?
Yeah, the system going down or modems dropping internet, that happens, but I don't think it's really very often.
Pretty rare.
Yeah, when people are doing flock.
Okay.
So there's always, you've always got glitches, and because IT will come in and they'll shut the system down while they do updates. That'll happen a lot of times during the day, but the odds of that happening at the exact very moment that you're doing a flock search, it's possible, but it's just not, it's not gonna be very frequent.
So is this local or nationwide, the flock company?
Well, it's nationwide.
Yeah, they're nationwide.
No, but where are they looking at this data that they're collecting? Where are they looking at it?
It's our data.
Okay, so it's in
But-
our city,
but-
my data is in our city. It doesn't go to Washington, it
Well-
doesn't go to wherever.
The data is shared, we choose that to share with other agencies.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. This happened recently, you probably know more about it than I do, but there was recently a sex offender molested, I think it was a 12-year-old kid. Happened here in Bay County.
It was Panama City.
Was it Panama City?
I think, yeah, cause Chief Smith talks about that case all the time. Yeah, it was a 12-year-old.
And so I
Yeah,
believe he lived in Mississippi, and I think he got wind that he was getting investigated and he left, right? So they put his license plate in the flock system. They found him 1 hour from the border of Mexico. He was getting ready to go to Mexico, and if he made it to Mexico, he'd probably be scot-free right here.
Right.
So they caught him before he got this. I think this happened recently.
Yeah.
And they, I don't know if he's back yet, but they're gonna actually have him back.
So, once you tell, if you have a secret, and you tell two people, the whole world knows one another.
Right.
It's the same thing with the data. Once it leaves your hands, you don't have any control over it, and it's basically out there for whoever wants it. And it may be illegal for them to pull it and do that stuff, but it's out there. That's my opinion.
I wanted to say something.
I have one question, Chief. Let's say you're looking for me, okay? I've got 3 vehicles.
All right.
2 of them I think are tied to one to my wife. Do y'all put all the numbers that are attached to somebody in the system as they go, or is it just one vehicle, or how's that done? This is all kind of off.
So if you're a wanted fugitive and I'm searching for you, a car that's registered to you, I'm obviously gonna hunt for that car. But if I have knowledge that there's a car that you are using that's not yours, and I know what car that is, I'll search that one.
That's just a question, I'm just wondering how that works.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I hear a lot of talk about like the data shouldn't be shared with thousands of different people and whatever. And like I understand that position, but I don't agree with it, and here's why. Like if we had flock cameras, but there was no interconnectivity between us and Bay County or other police departments, that would be the equivalent of me having a computer at my house with no internet. Like I can still open up a Word document and type a letter or whatever and, print it out with a hardwired computer, but I can't do anything else. So I'm using about 15% capability of that.
You'd have to
that
use it
system.
after the fact.
Yeah, so, just something to think about as far as when we talk about data sharing and all that. Am I crazy about my data being shared with Kalamazoo, Michigan? Probably not, but, it is what it is. The second thing is that to address your point is whether it should be an ordinance or whether it should be departmental policy. So we kind of got into this in the Charter Review Committee, right? As far as, what should go into the charter? Is this policy or is this, kind of government structure? And I think you have a valid point as far as the police chiefs the police chief rather that we have to get rid of. But what I would offer is that if a commission feels like that they have to write an ordinance to do a departmental policy of how the Lynn Haven Police Department utilizes a piece of technology, I think we got the wrong person as the chief of police. And I think we have the wrong city manager.
So we have to, now this is by state statute, but in order to use, red speed, in school zones, the city must pass an ordinance in order to put those guardrails in place. But of course, the state forces that.
Sure.
So I don't believe, like you said, charter, like that's a whole nother level.
Right.
Like we should definitely not put stuff like that in the charter because how long it takes to actually do it, and it might not actually happen.
Right.
And so that's where I kind of fall. Is like I said, the basic premises of these rules to actually protect it so it doesn't just fall to the winds, but then the actual tactical decisions of how to implement it, then that should be the policy. But currently, there is nothing other than, the state says whether you can use it in a right of way or not, or just basic main. So that's what I'm saying. It's like we can, like I said, we can use this technology if we do it right. And that's where I sit.
So that ordinance you're talking about would kind of be more of a structural 30,000 foot view of
100%.
Implementation.
Yeah.
And then
Which I think is where city governments should be at, right?
Sure.
And then your
Yeah.
departments are actually, implement it. Like, let's say like purchasing,
Yeah.
right? A purchasing manual should be a policy,
Right.
but then actual authorizations at the 30,000 foot, like, hey, how much is the city manager allowed to spend without our permission?
Sure.
And things like that, like
That's purchasing policy.
Yeah.
Is there anything at state level where they say where the cameras can go?
Yeah.
It's like
That's-
main roads or something.
Yeah, right of ways.
The right of way.
Yeah, unless you know different.
I'm not clear on that.
Okay.
I don't know why we would want to put them anywhere than on the road.
Yeah, exactly.
You have something there?
Yeah, I would just say, to say that flock is legal is a matter of opinion, because right now it's so brand new that there are not settled cases. These cases are up for appeal. The ones.
Like the one in
So it's
Norfolk?
not, so it's not settled. So what's gonna happen is Florida's gonna say, okay, flock's fine. The state of Washington is gonna say, flock is not fine. There's gonna be states that say this or that or the other thing, right? So that's gonna go eventually to
Or
the
Florida
Supreme
fish
Court.
packets in there?
Yeah, so it's not settled case law. This is all stuff these cases are barely a year old, right?
But there's been other ones, there's been quite a few that have been solved in the past too, that I've read.
The ones I know are up for appeal, so they're not.
There's some that are up for appeal, absolutely, but
Oh,
there's other ones that I've seen that there's been a resolution and it's done.
All the criminals will move up there where they ain't no flock.
That's right.
That's another thing.
That's
Lynn
right.
Haven, even before Flock, was very safe. It's very safe now. Crime since 2018 has been plunging, according to the statistics
when?
that I've seen, at least since 2018. Probably 2015. I posted on your Facebook page.
Okay.
The graph there, we're way below national averages.
And how much of an impact was when we implemented in 2021? Actually, I think we had one camera before that.
It's going about the same. It's about the same.
So I will
In
tell you,
fact,
there was
violent crimes
there
increased.
was a plummet starting in 2018, and I'm gonna explain to you why. There was a change in administration, so that's when Chief Ramey started. So prior to that,
Did he just start counting differently? Or-
no.
These aren't crimes.
That's true.
I've seen that
That's
happen.
pretty funny, actually. So, I'll give you an example. I started in 2011, and for many years after I started, we had a chief that had been, he was a chief for like 40 years. So,
You good?
we were, Lynn Haven was nicknamed Safe Haven because it was safe for criminals, because we were not allowed to investigate narcotics. The chief said, no, we're not doing that. You don't investigate narcotics. We'll let the sheriff's office do that. Hamilton City can do it, but Lynn Haven's not gonna do that.
Did you know that?
We had a lot of Mayberry type stuff going on. I mean.
In Southport?
No, it was right here in Lynn Haven, but,
Okay.
I mean, two of us couldn't be seen at the same place at the same time unless we were on a call. If we wanted to get something to eat during a lunch break, we weren't allowed to go through a drive-through. You had to actually walk into a place to get your meal, and we had to open and close cemeteries during business hours, and there's a lot of stuff that was going on. We couldn't make too many traffic stops. We were really limited to almost like security guards.
Yeah, so he
And
didn't
so-
redefine it, but he just like said
Made it normal.
less.
So,
almost.
yeah, and so when Ricky Ramey came in as the deputy chief, and so he started because Matt Reamer became the chief. So when that happened, Ricky came from the sheriff's office, so he brought a lot of stuff from the sheriff's office, some good and some bad. But the good that he brought was that we started working narcotics cases, we started doing search warrants, narcotics investigations, and we started making a bunch of arrests. And so the Safe Haven days pretty well ended, and that started in about 2018.
Okay, that's great.
And I don't know if Flock had a lot to do with that, because that really didn't start until 2021.
Yeah.
But I know that if you look back, there's a definite decline starting in 2018 in crime,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be why.
And
He started that shit, right?
I don't wanna
Yeah, we start being the real police.
Yeah, we're the policemen.
And I don't wanna divert the conversation to something different, but that's something we can talk about. I don't know if we talk about this, but, there's a balance here. I don't wanna make it sound like we should be doing all of this and not this, but whenever Lynn Haven Police Department pulls somebody over and they get a speeding ticket, we get like, what, $3 maybe?
It's very, very minuscule.
It's very little, and there's a fee schedule, and they go over it, I think it's 15 years of a panel of like 37 people that updates that. And when you look at who gets all this money, there's a lot of hands in that pot, and when you get down to the bottom, it's for the municipality. And in my opinion, and you gotta be careful with this, because Georgia has the opposite problem, but there should be more incentive for the police departments to pull people over. And I don't wanna make it where it's a revenue thing where they pull people over just to bring in revenue. But at the same time, it's like what he's talking about, is it worth the risk? You know, cause you wanna make some of that money back to pay for what you're doing. Now in Georgia, there's some municipalities up there where, and they're probably really small municipalities where like 85% of their budget of the revenue they get is from just pulling people over, giving them tickets and things like that.
So they're pulling people over for Christmas bonuses.
Right, so you
I
don't
think
want
they do
it,
that in Louisiana too.
you don't want it all the way over here, but we're kinda all the way over here, and I think it needs to come back this way, but that's never gonna change. But anyways,
So, I have a question. David, you're recording us, correct?
Yep.
And you're okay with recording us, you didn't ask my permission to record me, and I don't know if everybody else is aware of that. I don't have a problem with it, but I just wanna make a point. You're recording me right now, and I did not give you permission to do so.
I can't arrest you on a miscue.
Well, that's a good point.
I can't hold
That's
you
a
at
good
gunpoint
point.
on a
No, but
miscue.
You can take this and spew it across the internet everywhere, same difference, it's me, you have data on me now.
That's right.
Um,
I'm not the
you can do
government.
just that. You're an individual, sometimes
That's right.
individuals are worse than
That's
governments.
right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you're okay with recording me, right now without my permission, but you're not okay with.
It's apples and
them
oranges.
recording you. I don't think so.
It is. Government needs a warrant to search. I don't need a warrant to do this.
Corey?
Yeah, I had a question about like, I know the country club has a flock camera that
Well,
they're
It's not Flock.
I don't think it's Flock, is
It's
it?
another brand or whatever.
Okay, so,
It's Flock.
Oh, it is Flock?
Oh, it is Flock, so then I'm being recorded every single day.
that's right. So,
By the country club, not-
my question
I
is,
know, and
But
who
it's
gave
shared,
my
it's shared with the
permission?
police.
the HOA. So, and here's my question, like, if an HOA decides to buy a flock camera, right? Like, for example, the country club, do they share that data with you guys and, not only them, but let's say that Walmart has, security cameras that, whether they're flock or not, or whatever, I'm assuming probably flock has pretty much the monopoly on cameras and all that, but if a private entity buys a flock camera, do they then share that information with you all,
It's
or
up to them, isn't it?
how does
Yeah,
that
so-
work?
So, I wanna clear one thing up. You don't purchase a Flock camera. The cameras are still owned by Flock.
Okay.
We lease them.
Okay.
So like Lynn Haven, we lease our 5 cameras.
Okay.
The country club has 2 cameras that they lease from Flock.
Okay.
But that is their lease, that's their contract. They don't have to share that with anyone, but they do share it with us.
Okay,
So it's entirely up to them.
okay,
And not only that, the country club can't go in there and look at that data.
They can't do any searches.
But it's only law enforcement.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that, I have a camera in front of my house, and they came and knocked on my door to see it, the police, because of something that happened in my neighborhood. So, they're doing it no matter whether it's Flock or not, it's happening everywhere.
Kind of like a
Yeah, they-
rainbow camera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to ask for consent. That's
Yeah,
what-
they,
You
you
have
don't,
the
you
option.
don't, you don't have to
Yeah.
get into it.
Yeah, it's
Right.
consent. Yeah,
Right.
Do it done.
Yeah, if we've got some sort of a crime we're investigating, I mean, it's kind of one of the initial things we do is we're looking for witnesses that saw it, and then we're looking to see if there are cameras on houses or businesses or whatever that
Right.
could have
Yeah.
reported it.
I had the same thing. My neighbor got a gun stolen out of his car, and I have security cameras too, so
Mhm.
they're totally happy to help with that. I have a question. Deputy Chief Infinger, what would happen, how would things be different, how would your investigations be hampered if the data retention was 2 minutes? Because I have a big problem with a huge AI database of innocent people. What if that database was only stored for 2 minutes? How would that change things? Because you still have
It
real
would make
time.
the cameras useless.
You still have real time tracking. You could still put that in the hot list.
If somebody calls us and they say, hey, somebody just rear-ended me and fled, our average response time is about 3.5 minutes. So that data will be gone before we even got there.
But you could put their information in the hot list, right? And it would track when they pass a flock camera.
Yeah, and so it would alert somebody whenever they pass the camera.
Right.
But I mean, you got 2 minutes.
So what do you do with, yeah, that's right. And then you have another 2 minutes when he passes another camera and another, so it's still real-time tracking. It just gets rid of
The historical.
a historical tracing of where I've been. So there, I mean, it's equal. So in what way would you be hampered? Because you're not being hampered, because you could still put that information in the hot list.
Because we can't search that vehicle, you have to wait for something to come out, and that's only if you've got the tag number. To put something in a hot list, you have to have a tag number.
So,
So it's only helpful if you have the tag number.
To enter something into a hot list and have an alert go out, yes, you have to have a tag number.
So you can't just get that information by a description.
Get what information?
So, okay, so the stuff in the hot list is already known. Okay, so I get that. Okay, all right.
I think what you're trying to ask me, because you know that we can search based on like a yellow passenger car or an orange SUV, we can
That's got a
search by
button.
Right,
description.
like a Google
You
search.
can't enter a hot list by description, you have to have a license plate.
Okay, so I get that, because that answers my question, but you could still, so you don't get the past information, but if somebody says, you know, there was a black Jeep ragtop with a Garth Brooks bumper sticker. If I'm the bad guy and it passes a flock camera, after you get that call, you'll still be able to get that information, right? You'll be able to go boom, boom, boom. And
So
you
yeah,
get-
I could search the Jeep
So you got
soft top, but for 2 minutes worth. So, I mean, one of the things that you can do with Flock is if somebody, let's say they rob a store or whatever, and they leave and it's in a black Chevy pickup truck, and you know that they left, you know, headed south on 77, and we know there's a Flock camera, we got a time limit, you can search that Flock camera, you know, from like when your crime occurred until like 10 minutes after, because you know it'll take 6 to 7 minutes based on traffic lights for that vehicle to pass that. You can search that description for that narrow time frame, because I mean the wider your time frame, the more stuff you're gonna have to go through, and you really don't want a bunch of results. You really want to narrow down. And so let's say that you see it on that Flock camera, then you get the license plate number. So now you have the license plate number, you know who the owner is of that vehicle. That doesn't necessarily tell you who's driving it, but now you have a tag number, which would be the same information that you would have got if an eyewitness saw it and said, I wrote the tag number down. So it's the same information that you get that like that. That doesn't mean that the owner of that vehicle did the crime or was present or even knew about it. But the registered owner is gonna know something. I mean, if they loan their car out, or if somebody stole it or used it without their permission, they're gonna know something. So it gives us somewhere to start when we're investigating a crime.
A 2-minute retention is what the state of New Hampshire does. I like that a lot better.
So I watch my wife loves these murder shows.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
call
my-
her, Dateline, all this stuff,
Who
right?
doesn't?
Right.
Mine does too, and I don't mind her watching them. The only thing that bugs me is when she sits there and takes notes.
Right? I call them How to Kill Your Husband
She's
The
shows.
narration is very soothing. Yes.
But in one of those, they it was a crime that actually happened down in New Orleans, and they had the people on camera on Bourbon Street shooting this person. I mean, it was bad, right? But they actually found them using flock. They didn't say the word flock on the show. I think probably because
Like
maybe
sure.
yeah. But what they did was that I guess like during the court hearing and all that, even though they had them on camera, like literally pulling the trigger, that flock data was, when it was aggregated with other evidence, it just made the case stronger to
Yeah.
even prosecute these people. And that could be done, because you bring up a good point, like, it's just a car. My mom's has driven a school bus for, gosh, I don't know how long. Why is she still driving? Who knows? But the problem she has is these people running the darn school bus signs, the stop signs, right? And they put cameras on the school buses. And so she has to give the school or whatever the camera, the tape recording. And when they go to get these people, they're just like, oh, I wasn't driving the car. Like, prove I was driving. You know, it's just like,
Yeah.
golly, man. So my point is, like, no system is perfect. I think that it would be more harm to the community if we didn't have them than it would if we did.
We live
Again, I go back to the point of just because there are some concerns, I don't think we just throw the baby out with the bathwater. You got to have strict guidelines, guardrails, whatever, to be able to implement the system. I mean, that'd be the equivalent of me saying, okay, well, there's a sick individual over here that searches child porn on their computer. Let's do away with all computers. Like, that's not how that works. And I bring up these analogies all the time, that anything can be misused. I could misuse a butter knife. I could go and stab somebody or whatever. Does that mean we need to get rid of butter knives? No, that means I need to be put in jail, is what that means. But my point is that all I'm asking for is a reasonable conversation to happen, to let's all put our heads together and address concerns from both sides, because I'm not one to sit here and say, hey, y'all just have free reign to go do whatever you want to do. I'm just going to blindly trust and follow you. I mean, we've already seen some issues with previous police chiefs that we've had. So I'm not saying that I don't trust law enforcement, but I'm also just not gonna blindly follow someone, is all I'm saying.
And the one point you brought up, that actually when I had conversations with the attorneys and prosecutors, they told me that there's been plenty of cases where, you know, cause they gotta determine, do we have enough evidence to go prosecute, and then been things at borderline. But once they got flock data, it was a done deal, and it's been a substantial help in, closing those cases out, so.
Has it have we seen any stats on it actually like preventing crimes or any like actual studies on clearance rates going up? I mean, I feel like there's a lot of tools available that aren't flock cameras on public roads.
I think there's a lot of stories you can use as examples, which is why I shared it. You said you wanted us to share stories, successful stories, right?
2 years old.
So
How many
I want
stolen
every
cars you
success
got
story
collected
on
since you
that.
got flocked?
Okay.
Every
I
success
don't have a number
story.
for
A
you,
date
but I
and
know
just
that
say,
when we
Which
first
they
got
started
them,
doing.
Yeah,
we got-
I'd
they got
love to
like a
see
few,
that.
and the numbers kind of.
because they say it's efficient, but there's nothing to back that up. That's one story out of 6 years.
So
I asked for the
you
exact
had-
same
But I
question.
appreciate what you did.
Have
Do
we
you
seen
really
any?
think it deters criminals?
Does it deter it? Is it a
Based-
I don't know.
deterrent,
I mean, I would
or is
think
it
so.
increasing clearance
I
rates?
I don't have any data and stats to back it up, I'll be honest with you. But I will tell you, out of all the law enforcement officers that I spoke with, not just Lynn Hayden, but, you know, like Bay County Sheriff, Hannah City. I even have some friends from out of state, and I ask them about it. And they tell me their personal experiences, it's been a substantial help in them solving crimes. And one of the questions I ask all of them is, what would happen if you didn't have it? Would it make a difference? In their opinion, it'd make a substantial difference if they didn't have it.
And this is one request that I would have of not just the Lynn Haven Police Department, the Bay County Sheriff's Office, the Panama City Beach Police Department, every police department around. I mean, we're sitting here. They will say, he and I we've been debating this for how long, man? Like,
And we still got a lot of love for each other, too, so
and
it's good.
so we both, honestly, we respect each other's opinion. We don't agree on it, that's okay. But what I would ask is,
Me and Corey agree all the time.
yeah, right. You know, if we're sitting here saying, oh man, we need this system, we want to keep this system, we want, you know, all this stuff, it's so valuable. I've asked Commissioner Warrick, like, hey, why are the police departments not sharing how they're using this system to be able to catch bad guys more often? And that's, so what my point is that even though Dave and I completely disagree on this issue, there are things that we do agree on, and it's like, hey, let's get some of this data. And I understand, like, look, there's open cases that you know, that open investigations, that stuff can't be shared, right? But if, you know, JoJo Sims killed somebody 3 years ago and he's already had his court date, sentencing, no appeals, whatever, like, hey, let us know what happened. Like, so that way we can see, oh, okay, got it. Or, I still got questions. That's all I'm asking for is, like, just for these police departments, if it is that valuable of a tool to use, we as citizens need to know that it is actually being used and how it's being used to solve these crimes. Is it perfect? No, I know it's not perfect. No system's perfect. But I want to be able to see and say, okay, yep, this is why I've been agreeing with having this system. It's because of these situations like this when they're able to be shared.
Have you seen that on the Flock Transparency Portal, recent successes?
No,
That's what I want. I'd love to see, like, I'd like to see 20 stories, like July 12th, nabbed a murderer, you know, whatever. You know,
Okay.
I'd love to see that.
That's fair enough.
I don't want to see the
That might be
murderer.
really
I just want to see
scary.
the.
I don't need the picture.
I want to see 20 line items that are like, this is how murder.
Now, I will tell you, I also actually talked to Larry Bassford the other day, we had a discussion about this. And he brought up a couple examples, I don't remember the cases, you might remember, there was one, I think back in 2019, I think it was a double homicide that happened. And it took them a long time to track that person down and solve that case. I think eventually they did solve it, but it took years and years and years. And he was like, if we had that technology back then, that case, or those cases probably would have been solved. There's no way of 100% guaranteeing that, but yeah.
You know, really, I mean, Flock is you know, at some point, we didn't have DNA, right? We weren't using DNA to solve crimes, right? And then, I don't know when it was, you probably know this better than I would, but probably the early 70s or early 80s or something is when there was a DNA breakthrough, right? Where we started figuring out, oh, we can actually prove that this person was actually here at the crime scene. I don't want to compare Flock to the DNA mechanism, but DNA was new at one point,
Yeah.
right?
DNA fingerprints.
Yeah, fingerprints, right?
it had
Flock is
issues.
new. Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't perfect, and I think there's going to be some growing pains that we're going to go through, and I think part of what we're seeing now, I'm sure there's been people that's been pulled over that, yeah, the registered owner of the vehicle is wanted, but guess what? It was his 19-year-old daughter. All right, cool, no big deal. Have a nice day, whatever.
But she shouldn't be pulled over.
Well,
Cop should just drive up and say, "Oh, that's a woman. That's for a man." I mean,
Did you
it's
see the Arkansas body cam footage of them pulling over that couple? They had a 3-year-old and a newborn. And it was 1 digit off was the punchline. They got pulled over at gunpoint because
There's a lot
the
of
block
those.
alerted for it to be an X, and the one that had been reported stolen, the last digit was a Y. And I watched this, there's a body cam footage, and it was absolutely fascinating that these folks were as calm as they were, handcuffed in the back of a car, both the
With
parents.
their children.
With their newborn and their 3-year-old in their
Wow.
vehicle.
Where was
And
that again?
that was in Arkansas.
So this is something we actually talked about earlier about, and I don't know if it's just.
The mishit.
I don't know if it's just the Florida, if other states do this, but here, if they get a flock alert, right, they can't just pull you over. They have to verify through the FCIC, NCI system that it's actually the correct license plate.
and then there's the human in the loop where that cop should have said, wait a second, this tag number is 1234.
Right.
That tag number is 1244.
Yeah.
Right. So I would offer that necessarily, well, I mean, Flock started the issue, but the issue should have been caught.
It's
by-
human error.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I'm 100%. I feel a whole lot better that there is the human in the loop still. That, you know, I don't want to get to a point where I drive by a Flock camera and I'm wanted, and they send drones out and then stop
That's
me.
what's
That's
coming.
And
next.
a robot comes, pulls me out, and
I'm
arrests me.
sorry, but
Yeah.
that's coming.
That's coming.
It happened in Wisconsin as well. Some guy.
Flock
he
camera's
was
gonna be
the
watching from
reporter,
2,000
the
feet.
Sports car reporter, and it read the license plate, but it missed the little numbers that were. He was in Wisconsin and the stolen vehicle
Oh, I
was
think
out
I
in
did see it.
California.
The numbers in the middle were smaller than the
Yeah.
rest. Yeah, I did
So,
remember
I
seeing
mean,
that.
yes, humans make errors, but.
Was it a special license plate? Was it like a dealer plate or something?
Yeah, he was given the car to review it. He was a reporter on
Something like,
cars,
yeah, I remember seeing, so. You guys have any other questions, comments?
I will say, I appreciate, you putting this together, cause, yeah,
I do too.
I wanna be able to use this technology responsibly, and I will say, like, you know, Jamie's, like, in Bay County, he's done more than any other elected official when it comes to actually not just blindly accepting this technology, but being able to have conversations and try to find ways and solutions to protect our privacy rights. Cause, I mean, point to another city that's done more in Bay County, and they haven't, so I appreciate you, and, you know,
I appreciate
it's
it.
definitely something that I wanna kind of mirror as well.
And I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect.
I want to share.
Just
one
ask my
story.
wife, she'll tell you.
I want to share one story before we wrap up.
Hmm?
After Hurricane Michael, I had evacuated. I came back the next day. Not a police officer in sight. I had in my neighborhood a dad and his 2 teenage sons patrolling my neighborhood with long guns. And I felt perfectly safe and secure. I felt more perfectly safe and secure in that moment than I do now with Flock. So I don't believe Flock gives me safety and security. I don't believe that at all. I believe that I get that without this system. So to me, I just want to make the point that I feel less safe and less secure with Flock because of its misuse. I'm very grateful for you, Jamie. I know you've researched this. Is it a bi-monthly, every other week audit, or
Bi-weekly.
So every other week?
Right.
Okay. So
And from my understanding, even though it's bi-weekly, they're doing it every week right now.
Yeah, the policy says every 2 weeks, but we're doing it every week.
And that's done policing themselves, right?
Right.
Is there a way to do that so it's not police policing themselves?
Well, that's what I was talking about earlier. I personally like to, at the state level, as an independent audit, where they just randomly go out and check cities and municipalities and counties. I'd be all for that.
And if you audit, do you only have the 30 days to audit, or can you go back could I go back and see if this was misused by Chief Ramey 6 years ago?
Would go back to
30
that?
days.
Oh, the audit's are 30 days?
30 days.
See, yeah.
Pretty soon you'll only
See?
have 2 minutes worth of data, you won't even be able to do a weekly audit.
That would be awesome. I would love
I'm
that.
messing
We are fighting after this. You know. Once Deputy Chief leaves, we're stepping out there.
Well, when it comes to data retention, there is an exemption if it's part of an active investigation.
Yeah,
You can
3
hold it.
years.
Yeah, you can
Ours
hold
is the
it.
longest, one of the longest in the nation,
Okay.
3-year data retention.
Yeah.
I think California has 1 year and, yeah.
If it's part of that active, right? Yeah.
Yep. I wanna let you, I'm not anti-police. I mean, I love the officers, I love what they do. I just hate Flock, so that's it.
I understand that. And like I said, I know we're not.
I
gonna
just
leave
wish I didn't know
technology.
what was coming.
I'm also anti-power trip and misuse, so that's even worse.
I just wanna make sure-
Nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop.
Yeah.
Okay,
There
I
were
like that.
recently some that were arrested in Georgia, and that's what needed to happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
45 instances involving suspension, firing, or arresting of
Right.
officers.
And if they're
And growing.
intentionally misusing that, they need to go to jail.
And you know what, like I talked about earlier, how Flock does that AI thing? What I like about that is they find bad cops
We
and
make a
get rid of
decision
them.
every day. We
And
Yeah,
if
those
they
are
find
bad
him,
cops.
we wouldn't know for 6 years if there was a bad cop, so, you know, if they find him.
And once you keep them to get hired,
So,
the next one over.
I just wanna make sure before everyone disperses, does everyone have all their questions answered? Because I wanna get your questions answered.
I think it's fighting a losing battle.
That's okay. I
I've been
understand
fighting
that.
a losing stormwater assessment battle for 6 years.
We got a couple of losers.
Man, just when I was had a good day,
We're
man.
trying to end on a good note. Here we go.
They look for the losers, so it's for charter review.
Is everyone good?
This is for my drink.
Okay.
Oh, I get it.